So hello everyone, I'm Mira from Weixin Mini Program International Team. So we are truly having a global audience today, and you might also notice that this is our only bilingual session of today's main session. And the reason is very simple. We want to make sure that everyone feels at home, and we want to make sure that you are ready with our global future users. So as you can see that Weixin and the WeChat combined, we have around 1.4 million monthly users. But actually they are not just staying within the China and not just staying within the boundaries. And that's why we have seen for the 1.1 billion users who are actively using mini programs every single month, they are traveling abroad and they are also visiting China, and many of them are actually building their lives overseas. And 2025 has been a very transformative year for us. And we want to make sure that every one of you are delivering the most home-like experiences wherever our users are. So 2025 is actually a very transformative year for us. Mini programs in the international users and cross-border sectors, we already see over 5 billion annual usages of mini programs. And that does not include the domestic usages of mini programs. So this is the efforts we have seen and the growth we see in the international markets. And it is not a seasonal spike, and it is very organic growth. And beyond that, we see merchants from 100 countries and regions are building mini programs worldwide. And many of them has been with us for almost 9 years. And this growth is actually supported by an ever-expanding service providers networks who are on the ground working on 50 countries and regions. And we are lucky to see in the 2025, the active mini programs of overseas mini programs actually surged by 30%. And the transaction volume is grown by 40%. And surprisingly, we are seeing user is growing they become more sticky in mini programs, with their transaction volumes grow by 70%. And that means they are no longer just seeing mini programs as an occasional travel tool, but more as their global lifestyle. But the data is just on the surface. When we see on the map, the growth story doesn't look anywhere the same. So the first thing we figure out is the merchant activations. So in markets like the UK, markets like Thailand, we see the mini programs adoptions from the merchant is actually rising very fast. And from the transaction values, we see that like markets from like Italy and French, the transaction value is growing at a rapidly. And that means people are not just using mini programs to discover local services, but also trying to experience and to experience local life, and also to have more high-frequency services in their daily life. And when we look at regions and markets that have surpassed 1 million monthly active users, we now have 4 key regions, including Singapore, New Zealand, and Australia combined, also Japan. And the Hong Kong and Macau markets combining already surpasses millions of monthly active usage of mini programs. But map is just a data. For us, it's actually a story of dependencies on mini programs worldwide. So to really help you to understand how you can win in the new markets, I have divided my sharing today into 3 chapters. The first is who are using mini programs internationally outside of China, or when they are going to China from overseas countries. Secondly, how can you actually connect with these users, and how are they finding your services as a new user? And lastly, we'll look at how we can replicate that success internationally and in specific industries. So when we are talking about mini programs international users, the most obvious one is the outbound travelers. But actually has been extending more to that, We now have overseas residents who are building their lives overseas, and they're actually exporting their digital habits with them when they are building their lives there. And also we see the inbound visitors is reaching a record height, with their consumption of mini program is also rising to a new level. But first, we will also look at the most obvious, the outbound travelers demographics. Typically, we'll assume it's the 20-something, it's the student, it's the younger age students that are really driving everything in the digital space. But surprisingly, we figure out it's actually the one that age from 25 to age 54, they're actually the prime decision makers. And they are the ones that are really having the spending power when they want to travel abroad. And they have the most decision powers. And we also see that tier one cities users remains on foundation. But surprisingly, we find that the tier 3 cities and tier 2 cities customers are really rising up. So who are we talking about here? So think about a mom who lives in a city that is near Guangzhou, and now she is planning her family trip in the Spring Festival. But he's not just doing it for herself, but he's planning a family trip for her whole family. So here, she is a chief decision maker, and she owns the whole family budgets. By reaching her, you are reaching the whole family. And they are the personnel that need to really look after us as they are exporting their digital habits when they are traveling abroad. And let's look beyond those that are just traveling, but those that are actually building their lives overseas. So we see them adapting to the new cities, new countries' lifestyle, but they are also rebuilding their old habits. So there are a lot of muscle memories here. So usually, when you have discovered mini programs, in the chat pages, and you will do a swipe down so that you can enter the mini program that you have recently visited. And this remains the top one transactions and usage entry points when we are talking about overseas users. But we also see that these overseas residents are actively searching for services when they are abroad. And this is actually when they are entering keywords like food deliveries or tracking their parcels, and this is how they can enter the local services when they are abroad. We're also very surprising to see the social sharings remains a top entry point and also a key entry point to driving the consumptions. And it's intuitive to think that the socialing is actually adding another layer of trust when you want to drive the values and building the trust with your customers. And scan to services remains the most effective way when you want to connect the offline touchpoints with your online services. And this is when your users in the local cities, they want to, for example, they want to take a ride, they want to enter a specific location, you can use the scans to help them to access the service the most fastest. And for the first time in 2025, we also see, just like a lot of you in this room, you are entering China with much ease with mini programs. Now we see not just how mini program has not just become the way they discover services in China, but also how they consume. And they are now using mini programs to checking their parcels, ordering food deliveries, or, for example, taking a taxi. And this is the first time we see that many of the foreigners are navigating China just like a local. And now you may ask, the user behavior is here, so how can you connect them if you are international merchants and if you are helping the international merchants to reach the global audiences? We find that for each specific industry, the story is different. So let's look back to the previous example of the mom who is planning for her family trip in the Spring Festival. So the mom can be a planner. So before she even leave home, she's already researching some of the transportation solutions. She is researching for airline tickets and researching for the easiest way for her whole family to commute between cities in foreign countries. And after she landed, she can be opening her phones and to calling a taxi, etc. And when it comes to travel, we also see the power of cross-pollination. That means our users are jumping from one familiar services to another that she is more interested in. For example, the mom can be just book their airline tickets and then jump again and get interested into local attractions mini programs. And in the retail and mall industry, we see the power of content. So now, many of the followers of your official accounts can be instantly transformed into your clients in your digital storefronts by using official accounts, say articles, and official accounts menu bar. And in the caterings and the food delivery industry, we also see it's intuitive that it's usually a scan to service at a table, and sometimes it can be a very hungry search when they want to try out some local food. And this is how at the first time, they might enter your services. And we are also very surprisingly to see we are making this easier for our overseas users, because when a user's IP change from China to different countries, we now offer pages where she or he can find the nearest services in the countries she and he landed. And that is called a nearby service. So I think the key message here is to be at the point that the users want to find you the most. And this is a different story for the industry that you are in. And a lot of us has been asked the question, what is the strategic advantages of mini programs when you are comparing mini program with a standard app or standard web? And in one word, I would say it's boundaryless. So we all have been there. So when we landed in a new country, the signal is bad, and we don't have extra traffic, say we can download another app. And this is when mini programs make it so boundaryless that you don't need the customers to download an extra app, and this is where your conversions can be higher. So by unlocking your services and onboarding to mini programs, you are definitely unlocking a monetization tools. And this means the users and the customers are not changing for you, but it's you are changing for them. So we are really excited to see that many of the global merchants are now joining mini programs. And I think they are not just treating it as a side project. And in fact, we'll listen a lot from them this afternoon to share their stories, how they have turned foreign services into a familiar services for their global audiences. And I think their stories will prove one thing, that is, be familiar with our users on Weixin ecosystem means you can be profitable in the long term. And in fact, mini program has been transformed into a discovery tool to more of a transaction engine, as we have seen double-digit growth across different industry in the global consumption scenarios, including mobility, let's say retails, dinings, travels, etc. But under each specific industry, the growth stories can be different. And let's figure out what is the most interesting story behind. So if you are in mobilities, we are talking about this is how your future customers are already booked their trips. We are talking about Uber, we are talking about Switzerland Railway, we are talking about Eurostars, Italo Railways, who will also be on stage today. And this is how they have embedded their services into mini programs and make the seamless journey for their customers. And now we see a 140% year-on-year growth as these services has become seamless for them. And actually, this is beyond just transportation. When users abroad, their entire life cycles of travel has been changed by mini programs. And we are very glad to see the Tourism Board of New Zealand, Singapore, and Australia has been extending the destination influence to pre-trip planning and to the post-trip referrals. And that means by uniting the whole destination strengths, now the whole destination are speaking the same digital languages and becoming more attractive to our tourists. And a very interesting and exciting news we see is in Singapore. So during the Golden Week of 2025, we see the user traffic to Singapore mini program has grown by 7-fold when comparing with the 2024 Golden Week. And the reason behind is simple. We have local partners like Mandara Wildlife Reserve and also Sentosa and many of the local hotels in Singapore and even StarHub integrated rapidly into mini programs and making sure that when the people landed in Singapore, the moment you have captured their attention and you are in their digital pockets. So we also see a huge increase in the luxury hotel industries. We see hotels like Aman and Rosewood Hong Kong. They are not just hidden behind a third-party platform, but actually building a direct relationship with their customers through mini programs. And that means it's not just about booking, it's about providing a home-like experiences to the customers. It's from dining services, it's in-room services, and to many of the services they can provide during the guest stay. And by doing this, they are not just providing a one-time sales to their customers, but building a year-long relationship with them. And so far, we have covered 100 categories in the mini program's international ecosystem, but as today's time is limited, I really want to highlight some of the huge potential we see in the coming 2026. That means mini programs are no longer just served as a travel tool, but also they are building a digital home for those who are living overseas. So from tuition fee for our international students, and from grocery buying for the local Chinese communities, and for example to the food deliveries and power bank, and even the student housing can be a very promising industry. And for our local partners and our local service providers who are already building their business presence overseas, and this is a huge opportunity for you because the travel season is limited and you have the peak and you have the valley. But by building your mini programs into a year-long businesses means that you can have a more sustainable profit and a more sustainable reputation in the local markets. So if you are international merchants here, I think the key message from outside is very clear. Being familiar means that you are being the one that own the most competitive advantages. And don't put your customers, don't put your users into a space that they are not familiar with. And build your presence where their service habits, where their social circles already coexist. And for our developers and international service providers, your deep expertise in Weixin is your greatest asset because you know the ecosystem better than your clients and you know their end users better than they do. So leverage your expertise, and you are not just being the technical supporter behind everything. You are actually becoming a global strategist. You are actually becoming the consultants to provide a full year-long businesses, strategies, and suggestions to them. But actually, you don't have to do it alone. We are here to support you. So in 2023, we are very excited to launch our newly website called the International Service Marketplace. This is the way, if you are a merchant, you can quickly find the Weixin partners you would like to connect. And if you are a service partner looking to go global, you can also to register on our platforms and to get more business leads and to get more business connections with international clients. But we are just beyond building product capabilities. We are closely collaborating with local organizations and with our local partners to support. So we want to make sure that when you are landed in a new country and a new market, you are not alone, and you can build your visions upon our support system. So our team is actually on the ground from Middle East to Japan, from Australia, New Zealand to Europe. So wherever you have a need for your businesses, we are there to support you. And I think 2025 was the year that the world has witnessed the evolution of our ecosystem. But for now, if you are ready to connect with mini programs international, you can scan the QR code and connect with us, and we are here to support you further. And for now, my colleague Zhiyang will be on stage, and he will be introducing you the full suite of our international resources and support provided by mini programs. Thank you.